everybody. The board is back in open session. We just have a couple of things to get through before we meet the Hauser students here. So first up is there any public comment at this point? If there's no public comment, at this point, is there a motion for the Board of Education to open the budget hearing for 2018-2019?
So moved.
Second.
Is this a roll call vote, Margie, or we just go for
We'll do an oral.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. So is there any public comment about the 2018-2019 budget? If not, then is there a motion to close the 2018-19 budget hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay. Then we, are there any proposed changes to the agenda? If not, we move then into the superintendent's report.
All right, and I'm going to start by introducing April May, our Hauser principal, and she has some Hauser students who are going to talk with us.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. And I said the board is probably happy that we almost filled the place tonight with people. We've just got started with our year and wanted to kind of just give an overview of what kids think, so their perspective on things. I just wanted to give a little overview. As we started our school year, our teachers began the school year not by diving into curriculum, but first by creating safe and comfortable learning environments. So you may have heard children talking about sharing circles that we did at the beginning of the school year in almost all of their classes. Students also have a voice in creating class norms, so figuring out what it is they need in order to learn, what do they need from their teachers, what do they need from their peers. So that's some of the things that went into the first few days of school here at Hauser. Before we got into the math and the science and the social studies and the art, we got into really making each classroom feel like a safe learning community and tried to make it feel like their own so that it belongs to each student. You're probably going to hear from the kids some of the things that they're involved in, but so far already this month we have girls volleyball going, soccer, intramurals, the fall play has gotten kicked off, Best Buddies, student leadership team, GSA, and co-curriculars will be starting. So a lot of ways for students to be involved in school. And as we speak, half of our sixth graders are at Laredo Taft, probably doing their evening activity and having a snack before they fall asleep tonight. And then the other half of our students, some of them here tonight, will be taking off in the morning with me on a bus and going out for their Laredo Taft experience. So I'm going to have each child share with you. They just had some prompts that they filled out. And if you have any questions for them, I know they are some of our finest students that we have here at Hauser, so I know they'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I think just a word of advice to all families, encourage your child to get involved. If you can get your child involved in school, school becomes a wonderful, wonderful place for your kids, and it really gets them out and meets a lot of people. So we're going to start with I'll have the sixth graders, if my sixth graders could come up. And we have, this is Josh Udelson, and he's going to be sharing his thoughts. And we have Bella Gonzalez. So go ahead, guys.
Hi, my name is Josh Udelson, and I'm in the sixth grade. Just a few things I love about Hauser is we get gym every day, and we get hot lunch every day also. We get to pick our encore classes like global cultures, art, band, and others. Things I'm looking forward to this year is Laredo Taft. I'm going there tomorrow. I made the 7th grade soccer team, and I like my teammates a lot. Things I'm looking forward to this year, going to Laredo Taft. My sister told me that park testing week is very fun because you play games and watch movies when you are not testing. And I look I look forward to performing in the band. We sound so much better because we practice every day.
Hello everyone, I'm Bella and I'm in the 6th grade here, and here are just a few things I love about Hauser. I first have to say I really love the staff because they're really always there for you when you need it, but at the same time they don't baby you, and when they know you can do something they put you up for the challenge. Another thing I love about Hauser are all the activities. Like, they have lots of after-school clubs and things you can do during school, like choir, play an instrument, and there's just a lot of fun things. The beginning of the school year has been awesome because it wasn't super stressful, like in the movies, but at the same time, it wasn't like a walk in the park. Let's just say I was challenged in the best possible way. Things I'm looking forward to this year, one is Laredo Taft. I'm actually going tomorrow, and I'm actually really excited because of all the great videos some of the teachers have made, and they made it look super interesting. I'm also really excited for the fall play, which Mr. Mason, who teaches speech and drama here, is going to be directing and producing. I'm going to be in it, so I'm really excited. And I'm also excited for all the during and after school clubs like orchestra and choir and like the art club and science club. So thank you for listening to what I think about Hauser.
All right, and then if my 7th grade, I have a gentleman from 7th grade, if you would come on up. So I have Max Schierman and I have Nicholas Galvin, and I'll let them share their insights.
Okay, hi, my name is Makoto Scheuerman, and I'm in the 7th grade, obviously, like Mrs. May said. So a few things I like about Hauser is how friendly the environment is. Like, when I came in 6th grade, I would instantly make 70 new friends. And like now this year, I've made also like maybe a little tiny bit more friends because of the sharing circles that we had. So I could really find out what like me and maybe a few other people I didn't meet last year had in common, so I could relate with them and maybe become friends. Also, the beginning of the school year has been awesome because, well, the teachers are like really willing to help you with like some assignments maybe you have questions on, and like maybe if you're confused on maybe some of your homework, you can come in after school or during lunch to have help with that. And things I'm looking forward to this year is I'm on the 7th grade Hauser soccer team. I made it last year too, and we didn't get first place, so I'm hoping we can grab that first place this year. And then I'm also very excited to like see what my grades will be at the end of this year, because I want to be in that A honor roll, straight A honor roll again. And then I'm also excited for the spring musical. That will be maybe next year, because I was in the spring musical last year, Peter Pan, and it was really an amazing like crew, cast, and just overall an amazing performance. And I really like how Mr. Mason like shows everyone how to like do things, and he would bring in choreographers to like just make amazing scenes and like like show you what to do, and like it would really make it lively. And so I really like to be in his productions. Sadly, I can't be in the fall play though because of soccer, but I'm still happy that I can at least be in the spring musical. I'm also looking forward to some band concerts since I've recently made Wind Ensemble. I'm also in the jazz band in the mornings. And then I'm also in this art club that's in the morning, and then also choir that's in the morning. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Galvin, and I am in the 7th grade. Just a few things I love about Hauser is the sports you can get involved in, and the education they teach is actually really awesome. And I've learned a lot in Hauser this year. The beginning of the school year has become awesome because I got to see my friends that I haven't seen all summer, and I got Spanish as an encore. Things I'm looking forward to this year is learning Spanish fluently, also doing well in all of my other classes. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you. And last but not least, my 8th graders. I have, if you guys want to come on up, we had 3 8th graders. As you have probably already heard, these students are very busy, both inside of Hauser and outside. So we have 3 students, and I'm going to share, if I can speak. We had Tiffany Boone, who is unable to be here because she also has gymnastics and dance and lots of activities after school. And then we also have Sam Royer, and we have Sophie Swissionis in 8th grade. So Tiffany wanted me to share that the beginning of the school year has been awesome because I was able to see my friends and classmates again. And getting to know the teachers and learning about the different subjects. Things that she's looking forward to this year, all of the activities that Hauser has to offer, learning new things, and meeting new people. And I know her plate is very full, and she wanted me to share that with you tonight. Sam?
Hi, my name is Sam Royer, and I'm in the 8th grade. A few of the things I like about Hauser is the teachers. They're funny, they help you with whatever you need, and they're always there for you. And another thing I like about Hauser is the classes you can take. There's lots of different classes that are different from other schools you could go to. There's Paw Prince TV, which I'm currently in, which is about filming and making videos. There's some languages like French and Spanish. There's one class I'm going to be doing later on, music production. And they all just seem very interesting and a lot of fun. The beginning of the school year has been great because not only did I make the soccer team, but I got to reconnect with some friends that I didn't get to see very often during the summer, and it was just a great time. Some of the things I'm looking forward to this year are the field trips, which are always fun. The co-curriculars you can do, such as there's a co-curricular in robotics in the spring, the music production class I mentioned before, and for when we get to start filming in Paw Prince TV.
Hi, I'm Sophie, and I'm in the 8th grade. Some things I love about Hauser are all the ways you can get involved. And this year, I made the soccer team. I'm in art club. I'm on patrol before and after school, and I cannot wait to be stage crew for the school play. Another thing I love about Hauser is having a Career Connections teacher, which is the teacher of the class I have 15 minutes before lunch, and it's like I have my own personal counselor to go to if I need any help with anything. The beginning of the school year has been awesome because of many things. One reason is in band we got new instruments, and I play the flute, and I got a brand new open hole flute, which has been a very exciting challenge. One thing I'm looking forward to this year is being a role model. As 8th graders, students from 6th and 7th grade look up to us, and I want to show them how to make the best out of their years at Hauser.
Thank you.
And if I could just thank the families for the children that you have raised. And we are so fortunate to have such great kids here at Hauser and such great supportive families. So thank you for your children. I hope you have many, many more to send us.
Yeah, I just would like to echo Ms. May's comments. It's great that you guys are doing so many things. It's really, and taking advantage of what's offered here. It's really good to see that. Very impressive.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And I think it's always good to thank you to the Board of Education too for making these opportunities available. So, in the students' own words, but really great to hear as a kickoff of the new school year. So, my only other superintendent's report item is just I wanted to make sure that everyone's aware as our process continues to move forward that our next Facilities Advisory Committee meeting will be October 10th, and we anticipate at that point beginning to look at some additional design ideas for possible Ames School expansion.
Great. Thanks, Martha. The next item is the consent agenda. At this point, would the board secretary like to read the consent agenda?
Sure. Tonight's consent agenda includes the minutes of the closed session on August 15th, the regular business meeting on August 15th, and the committee of the whole meeting on September 5th. It also includes the personnel report, the payables pre-lists of August 31st and September 19th, the EIS Administrator and Teacher Salary and Benefits Report for school year 2018, and a memo regarding disposal of surplus property.
Thanks, Joel. Is there any item that any board member would like to take off of the consent agenda for further discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Margie, please call the roll.
Mr. Marvel?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Kleiber?
Aye.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Margie. Next up, are there any comments from the Riverside Educational Council? If not, then we move on to board member comments. Does any board member have any comments about any activities they participated in or anything they wanted to talk about?
I took the opportunity to tag along on the the Central Open House. That was good to see some teachers that I hadn't seen for a while and hear what some of the younger kids are doing.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought of the staff. I went to Hauser and Central, obviously, because I'm at the kindergarten and 8th now. I flank the district now. It's actually kind of a cool perspective to remember what they have done, but teachers are amazing. Principals did a really great job. It was like, you're efficient, but we really felt like we could listen to the teachers, and I was really impressed. They were
Yeah,
great.
I actually wasn't able to go to the Hauser Open House, but my husband was, and I wouldn't say he was excited about it. Our fourth time, just it's our fourth time going, so I don't think he was like, "Yay, I can't wait." But he came home, and I was like, "How was it?" And his exact comment was, "The energy from the teachers was amazing." That he just, and this is the fourth one we've been to, so a lot of the same teachers, but he just came back feeling like everybody felt really energized, and the energy in the school was really great. So
Yes.
it's a lot of what the kids were saying too. It's exciting.
Yeah, I went to the Hauser Open House, and I had the same sentiment too, and I was very impressed by a lot of this, what they're talking about in some of these subjects, in their math curriculum is actually very advanced, actually, and their science, their new science curriculum, I was very excited by it, so I agree.
I too was at the Hauser Open House.
Wait, were we all there?
Sentiments here. The enthusiasm from the teachers was palpable and quite refreshing to see. I also was going to attend the Hauser parent night. No, excuse me, with my eighth grader. Although she said, Dad, this will go a lot quicker if I go by myself. So I kind of got ditched there. But and then also on the other end of the spectrum, I was at the open house for Blythe just last week, and pleasantly surprised on how that went as well.
Well, I was not at the Hauser Open House.
What?
I didn't know we were all supposed to go to that one. But I was at the Hollywood, and they did a very nice job there. I saw this, both first grade and fifth grade. So, but the energy as well was very encouraging and good to see.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's exciting. It seems like a very smooth start to the school year.
Very smooth start. Yeah, it's one of the smoothest I can remember, and I only have an 8th grader, but it seems like it was really just seamless, and everyone was very, very prepared and excited. It wasn't any confusion or And I'm a new kindergarten person. It's been a long time, and I didn't feel lost one bit, so it was nice. Because I've forgotten so much, So.
All right, well, that's all good to hear. Next item is old business. First item on old business is the 2018-2019 legal budget. So at this point, is there a motion to approve the 2018-2019 legal budget and adoption of the resolution as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion of this budget at this time? I know we heard Mr. Fitton from last time, and I assume there's no changes from your last time.
Okay.
Any questions from Mr. Fitton or any further? Then if not, then Marcia, please call the roll.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Marhol?
Aye.
Ms. Kleiber?
Aye.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Margie. Next up is an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Brookfield and Riverside School District 96. At this point, is there a motion for the Board of Education to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Brookfield and Riverside School District 96 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion about this agreement? Any comments or questions?
You know, I do have, as I did with Riverside, I do have concerns with this one as well. I guess the thing that bothers me the most about this is it seems to be just a template that a lot of districts use. And I think our attorneys, and I'm not faulting them, but they just use this and they pass this on. But I also don't think it really protects the community, okay? Because it seems to be also, again, one-sided. It's like they're talking about, like that the school needs to report things that we perceive might go into, expend over into the community. So I guess my question is, we've had incidences here where kids have brought in knives or something. Does that mean we need to now report that to the police? I mean, according to this agreement, we should be. And at least that's how I would interpret it. And I don't really want to get getting the police involved for something that, like maybe, say like a kindergartner brings in a pocket knife from his mom's or dad's burrow. The other issue I have with this.
Which section are you looking at there on that? On that?
2A.
2A.
Okay.
Right.
Fourth bullet point.
And similar to, like, if there's a fight, I mean, do we have to report, I mean, we'd have to report, like, a fight in the playground. I mean, is that something that we want to be reporting to the police? I mean, that doesn't seem like that's something we should be doing. I mean, if it's just two kids who are just not getting along for a day. But one could say, well, this would then spill over into the community.
I don't read it as just like a fight on, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm interpreting it a little bit differently.
Right, and I guess that's what I'm trying to say. That's why I started off, I think it's a template.
I think it's I think you have to use a little bit of reason.
Right.
And
But again, I don't think it needs to be more thorough. I mean, and that's my point. And I guess lastly, the big thing I have is.
So your first point was about the reporting if a kindergartner brings in a knife. That would be. It sounds like, according to this, that we would then have to inform the police about that.
Right.
And what's your second thing you mentioned?
Well, like about the fights as well, but I don't think it's been really vetted very well. But I guess also there's nothing in here talking about any federal law. They talk a lot about state law, but and I don't know if there is any federal law that governs this. But there should be something in here that mentions federal law. Even if there's no laws today, Congress could easily pass a law tomorrow that would require something. And so there's a lot of things in here that I'm not comfortable with, and I don't think we should be entering into these agreements without it being more thoroughly vetted and more thoroughly reviewed. Because I can tell you right now, I did Google certain just sections of this agreement, and you pulled up a number of school districts.
Okay, so it's a template based.
Right.
Martha, could you talk about the functionality of this and how you perceive your relationship with the police?
So we
Or
do
what your
have
experience
a
is?
mandated requirement to share with the police criminal activity that
Okay.
occurs on school grounds. And then you get into these more nuanced areas, David, it's like you're bringing up, like a fight between young children, a very small knife that no intention to harm, that kind of thing. And we do have discretion and we do have judgment because those really aren't criminal activities on school grounds. So although the agreement may say something about a fight, serious acts of vandalism, gang-related activities, things like that, I feel like it gives us plenty of discretion. And I can certainly speak for the past 2 years where we've really, our whole administrative team has really utilized that discretion. I think to me, it's one of those where I think the benefits outweigh the risks, that we are obligated to have an agreement about criminal activity. We are not obligated, we are not mandated to have an agreement about sort of all those other things that might occur. But we know we want to have, and I believe we really do, have a great working relationship with both the Village of Brookfield in terms of their police department as well as the Village of Riverside and their police department. So, I think, I can't speak to exactly why these appear like templates, but I think they appear like templates because there are agreements and there are requirements that school districts must enter into. And then I think school districts do have these more nuanced or gray areas. So I can tell you that the template that was used with Riverside Brookfield High School is different around the language. So we actually looked at Riverside Brookfield High Schools and we very specifically took out some of the activities that we felt were sort of those things that older kids might engage in, or you might even have a different response with an older child
Right.
than you would with a younger child. So
Than an 8-year-old.
what I do want to assure the board that I feel like we gave this a lot of thought and consideration. We did it last year with the Village of Riverside. The Village of Brookfield, it is the exact same agreement, just changing to the different village. But I think that's important for the school district and for the villages to have a similar, I mean, Hollywood, is in Brookfield. A lot of our children are Brookfield children. It's really about, which police might we be calling in. So in Hollywood, we would be asking the Brookfield police to intervene if we felt there was a need. The other thing I just want to point out is that sometimes they are I shouldn't say sometimes, really, I think the intervention is always this way, but sometimes they've been very helpful to us in regard to like a family in crisis. And I really do think, yes, they are law enforcement and we're educators, and there's somewhere in the middle that our work overlaps. And I think our team is very thoughtful and very careful about that.
I support this agreement, just sort of echoing what Martha just described here, in that it's not just about the piece of paper, it's about the relationship that it establishes. And clearly, we've got a superintendent here that nurtures that relationship. I think, Dave, you're right. If somebody wants to split hairs and argue about one word versus the other word in this agreement, it can go in any different direction.
And I guess
definitely.
That's what I'm
But-
trying to get at. I don't mean to interrupt, but that's, I mean, the way it's worded, we are supposed to report when a kid brings a knife to school.
Right,
That's
I
what
agree
it says
that-
right here.
yeah, it's-
I mean, it says that's what, yeah, we can get into gray areas, but it says in the agreement, we are supposed to do that.
Well, it depends on what the word criminal means then.
No, it doesn't say
No, it
about
doesn't say
criminal.
anything about criminal
Well,
activity.
exactly, but if she's saying criminal activity is
Says the word
really the
weapon.
crux of it.
But we
I think
understand
what
what it
it's saying is
says,
it's saying the
criminal
word
activity
weapon.
in the agreement.
Exactly, I
And then
understand, but,
describing weapons, so it would
That's where
be-
we're gonna take discretion and say, was
Right.
this
That's right.
intended, was
Yes.
this brandished, so weapons tend to talk about how they are shown,
Yes.
Exactly right.
So
They're
they're-
not, they don't want to hear about, Boy Scout, Swiss Army knives.
They don't wanna
They
hear-
don't want
I
to hear
know.
about that. And I think we trust our superintendent, as we need to in this situation, to carry it out as she knows she needs to.
I think
Report
having the
to us when that
language,
happens.
I'm sorry, I think having a language too specific can almost be binding in a way that could put us at limits.
Right.
I don't see there being a huge overstretch from that other side, but.
Joel, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm on hold.
Well, as was mentioned, this agreement is pretty similar to the one that we entered into with Riverside, probably 6 months ago or so. I mean, what has the experience been with Riverside over the past time since we've had this agreement with them?
I would say there have been a few occasions where we have shared information. There are probably some areas where we have judged that it didn't sort of meet sort of that threshold. I think we have a very cooperative relationship with them. I see them out in front of our schools, it seems most mornings these days, so I think of those informal things. Not that this would have them do that or not do that, but again, I think it speaks to the relationship. So has it been helpful to have it? Yes, I think it is.
I mean, knowing Dave's opinion, is there anybody else on the board that's strongly against it?
I'm not strongly against it, but I do take Dave's point. I do think that if you were to read this literally, so you would sound like if someone brought in a pocket knife, you could argue that, yes, you should cry. So there's a sense of literalness. So we're basically falling back that it's going to be interpreted in a sensible way. It's not. We're not going to look at the literal words and actually we're just going to exercise judgment. But it always makes it be a little bit uncomfortable when what's written and what sort of we sort of mean by it are not totally in parallel. It does make me a little bit concerned. I think that's your basic point.
Right, that is.
Well, I'm sorry, Lynn, I just wanted to mention the word appropriate. The word appropriate as otherwise appropriate is in there, and I think that's a word that should give some discretion. That reporting as otherwise appropriate for the benefit and the safety of the school and the students, I think would be, for me, the litmus test for Martha.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the agreement, but just a quick question, is this an agreement that we go into yearly? Do we?
No, it sort of
it's a-
stands
okay,
as our agreement.
okay. I mean, we can also, you know, if the board has some concerns, we can always modify the agreement moving forward as well if we feel that we find an agreement that better suits our needs. I mean, I think that's always probably a possibility. I mean, I do think it's a great step in creating a relationship and a partnership, because that's what we are with the police. I find, like Sherry said, the word appropriate, like, you know, this is using, you know, judgment and reason, and I think I'm okay with it.
Which location of appropriate
I
are
was
you
talking
referring to?
about
Is
in
it
the
2A1?
reciprocal reporting guidelines in 1A1.
Is it the first paragraph there on
Yes,
Exhibit A?
yes. Just that they will implement guidelines for reciprocal reporting under the school court or otherwise appropriate for the benefit and safety of the students. For me, that kind of means if it falls within those guidelines, you can interpret it.
I'd agree with that.
I'm not an attorney, but that's how I read it. Yeah.
I just think we can do a better job at putting together an agreement. I mean, I do understand the relationships, we do want to have a good relationship, but, you know, we're engaging in a legal contract here, and I think we need to, I mean, you don't buy a house, you don't go enter into a contract without sort of it being pretty tight, and this is not tight at all.
What do people think about, so it sounds like a couple of options have been sort of tossed out. Linda suggested we could pass this and then think about amending it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing right here, it says amendments and modifications. This agreement may be modified or amended
I mean,
from time to time.
the part you sign is the formal agreement, and then the other part falls under guidelines, right? You know, so the part that becomes more descriptive. You know, I go back and read it, and I do feel like I have discretion, and I exercise that discretion.
Another possibility is we could sort of defer this for further, you know, review. That sounds like those are the third possibility is we vote on it now. Those are the three sort of things we could,
Or we just vote on the motion, that's.
those are the three possibilities, right? Any other possibilities people see? So is there a sense that we want to vote on the motion or defer this for a later time, or?
I think the amendments point in here really, you know, protects us and allows Martha to circle back, you know, with our attorneys to get any other recommendations to modify, you know, these few points that maybe give some board members a little more comfort. So I would support calling the motion and moving forward.
Okay. Well, would you be, Martha, how does that sound, what Rich is proposing, to sort of take the sort of specific concerns that David has raised, but sort of the literal language, and pass that by Shelley and say, can we maybe modify this, you know, for, tighten that up a bit?
And it may even-
Is that what you're saying, Rich?
Well, it may,
That's-
that could be, but another thought is it may even be that you talk to, you know, you talk to your contact at the Brookfield Police and say, you know, this is what concerns us.
Right.
You know, how would you interpret this? Could we modify that language and offer another amendment to that?
So vote, not what you're saying is vote now, and then see if we can get some amendments to tighten up the specific language.
This is the agreement that we have with Riverside.
Right, so
right?
if we're gonna make
We have
changes,
to-
we'd have to
so
make that
clearly
to
we-
do
Parallel,
them.
right?
Right.
And we did go back, so when we did the agreement with Riverside, if you recall, we went back to the attorney. So this has been reviewed by school district attorney, this has been reviewed by village attorneys. This does follow guidelines that many school districts enter into. I can't say all, but many and most. And I think the legal opinion is those that haven't have maybe just not gotten around to it yet. It's again, not that school districts don't want to do this. So we had, as I said, starting with the high school, and we had modified the language at a time when we all, you know, you know, we don't want police appearing in our schools to break up a fight between two
Right.
second graders,
That's
which
right.
is
That's
an
right.
unlikely scenario. But
I would hope we don't want that.
Right, whereas I think, so again, I feel like we have made some language modifications, could we make more? Perhaps, you know, kind of to Sherry's point, if you start to name every possible incident and the age level at which maybe you wouldn't report it, or the size of the.
I think you're muddling the conversation and the dialogue between you and the village. If you.
But I'm
If you
happy
go
to
that
give it
way.
another pass, I've given, and I knew there were some questions, I actually spoke to our attorney again just today about it, so.
I think a couple of things that are important, it's to note, it's not like there's a penalty clause or something for non-enforcement or.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty, and the agreement is severable within 30 days, which effectively comes down to if there's a disagreement between the board or the district and the village, essentially the agreement gets torn up.
That's a good point.
You know, we've seen there was an article in a recent publication that talked about another district that was having trouble with one of the villages they work with, specifically over an agreement such as this. So it seems to me it's a sign of good faith if we have an agreement like this with the communities we work in.
Right.
I take David's concerns to heart, but in the interest of maintaining a good relationship and understanding that in many ways that relationship is dependent on the personal contacts between our superintendent and the police. Knowing that, but also noting that the guidelines are supposed to be a beginning to what we're doing. In the first paragraph, or whatever, the first numbered paragraph of the agreement, it does give us the option to further clarify the guidelines and the information that's being shared. So,
So in that context, then, is it, just to be clear, crystal clear about that, is it the consensus of the board that we do not want the police to be involved in ordinary school matters? It's only when there's a serious
Yes,
criminal. We don't want the police coming in for, you know, break up a fight, even if it's not just second
And the
graders. even
police
if
don't want to do that either. It's a waste of their resources.
Right.
No, and I would rather have a
That's-
parent called first before you bring a police officer in to talk to a child. It should be sensible.
Absolutely
Be
agreed, and
sensible.
based on our experience, I think, at least for me, I'm very comfortable that our superintendent knows the difference.
That's correct. No,
So
Martha.
that's why I'm
yes.
comfortable moving forward with this.
Yes.
The general agreement, then? All right, well, it sounds like there's a sort of a consensus to take a vote on this, so at this point, if there's no further comment, any further comments? Marjorie, please call the roll.
Mr. Barsadi?
Nay.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Marhol?
aye.
Ms. Kleiber?
Aye.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Margie. Next item is
The engineering.
the
Number three.
WT Engineering Group Ames School Topographical Report. Is there a motion at this point for the Board of Education to approve the WT Engineering Group's Ames School Topographical Report as presented? So this is basically we're doing a topographical study of the Ames area for the any potential
So moved.
construction.
Second.
Is there any discussion about this proposal?
Nope.
It's a necessary step. We've
Yeah,
gotta
I mean, you
move
have to,
forward
right?
on it.
If no discussion, then Margie, please call the roll.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Mr. Marhol?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Kleiber?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Margie. Next item is new business. We have two items. The first item is a draft of the residency policy. I don't know if maybe, Martha, you would like to maybe just remind us what is being proposed here?
Sure.
Why?
So we had a conversation at the last cow meeting about possibly modifying our residency policy to open up some of those, what I would call maybe unique exceptions, particularly when a student intends to move into the district. The language here is intends to move into the district, but it's not established actual residency, that the student be allowed to attend schools without payment of tuition for a period not to exceed 30 days. So we talk about a point at which there are families where that intention is clear, but the sort of physical, as the school code says, it's, literally where children put their head down on a pillow at night is really what drives residency and attendance in the school district. So this creates an allowance for that unique exception. Again, they're small in number, but those situations feel somewhat compelling around allowing a child who might be starting school somewhere to only move from that school district into this school district in 30 days. 30 days is the timeline we put in the policy, so I think it's worth considering.
I think it's very student-centered suggestion for language here. I mean, it clearly, it identifies a rare occasion, but it allows for, understanding and compassion on the part of the school district. But also protects the school district if by chance the closing doesn't happen and, this period extends. So I think the language that Dan, you worked on, and Martha, you worked on, I think feels good to me.
I would agree. I think, it is student-centered. We need, while it's not a lot of cases, we need to address it. I haven't been in that situation, but I can only imagine.
Absolutely.
If you're trying to move and you're trying to get all this stuff done, if you can at least get your kid in, especially if you're moving from a community that's close by.
I like that it gives the sole discretion to the superintendent, so it's not just, I'm very comfortable with it. I support a policy like this.
Joel?
Your turn, Joel. Come on. Get up.
Well, the only question I had is, we've got failure to establish residency within 60 days. Why do we pick 60 days versus the 30 that's noted elsewhere in the
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
paragraph?
Yeah, and that I don't know if there's a legal reason for that. 60 days initial.
Yeah, I'll just say, the way I interpreted that was that we're going to initiate getting tuition back after 30 days.
Right.
But there
Yes.
might have been something that happened with the closing, they might be building a house, the construction's delayed. They're still going to go to school, they just haven't. And after 60 days, in my opinion, was, okay, this isn't going to happen, or there's the likelihood of it happening is not going to happen soon. So
That's how I read
interpreted
it as well,
Mhm.
that if for some reason the closing is delayed,
Right.
and it could be delayed 15 days or 30 days, that there's still an option there.
Mhm.
No, I think it is a good policy. It does let us address those one-off situations, and I very much like the fact that, as Linda said, it gives Martha the sole authority, which I think it's better from our perspective that it does not give the petitioner room to argue.
Well, and as has been mentioned, this is rare exceptions, but exceptions that have occurred and have been noted and documented. It does bring us more in line, closer with the policies at RB. And again, it's very student-centered. I think it projects the way that this board has, entered into a lot of student issues.
I don't know, about a week ago, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I was, I just thought, well, the policy was good, but I like the 30 days in here. I think to extend it past that gets to be a little fuzzy. So I did like the 30 days. I'm still kind of here or there with it. I'm not unhappy helping the child, obviously. I would just like not to be taken advantage of for the district side, so.
Yeah, I think it's written, it's fine. I just have two questions. One is, I think both the RB policy that you referenced, Dan, and also the River Forest policy that you used to work under, both required, in this circumstance, deposits. So I think the River Forest requires 90 days worth of tuition, which is about a third of a year. So $5,000 roughly per student deposit. And if you're not a resident by the end of the 90 days, you lose the money. I think RB has a similar, I can't remember exactly, but I think they also require a deposit, maybe not as large. So, and I know that was talked about when we talked about it last time.
yeah.
So did that, just I'm wondering, did that idea, just what happened to that idea? Did that,
Yeah, I
So
don't know.
we could put that still into our procedures, or we could look at that as a policy modification. I think this is the initial draft, and, I think getting a sense that there seems to be board consensus that this is a good idea to move toward a policy like this. We could still make some revisions, or we could represent revisions in a procedure.
my view, I guess, is that
Not revisions, but the part about the
If we're
tuition.
gonna do something like that, it would make sense to put it in the policy as other districts do, so I don't know what.
So
that
Other
would look
districts
like.
do, but not all.
Not all.
Yeah, I was
not
gonna say,
all.
I have mixed feelings about that just a little bit, because I do think it, I'm trying to choose my words properly. I think not everybody can afford a deposit when they're in a transition of moving. I think it slightly leaves a section, I think everybody, like, public education is, free, everybody has the right to a free education. I don't know how to say my words exactly, but I'm not super comfortable with like that large of a deposit to be able to do that,
It
because.
doesn't have to be that large,
I don't
but it
think
could
we
be
need
something in
90
there.
days
It could be
seems
something that basically
excessive.
say, look, you're serious, but we're granting you this 30 days, extend it out to 60. But at the end of the 60 days, the tuition is actually a real expense for this district to actually educate kids. And so we expect, in fact, that's what this says, we expect you'd be paying for that, so. So I think
And then
it's
it's
sort of-
refundable, is that the concept?
Refundable,
then they get
basically,
it
yeah. So
back.
if the 60
Right.
days, everything works out properly, the closing happens, then, yeah.
But we have to remember, it's not always just a closing.
Or whatever.
Right,
the
it could
case
be a
might
lease, it could be a rental, it
Right.
could, you can sign a rental agreement where you're moving in 2 months.
Right.
Say your agreement starts on step 1 and school
Right.
starts August, you
Right.
wouldn't be able to register because of that, so.
Right,
I
so-
think we need to keep that in mind, that it's not always a closing, it's.
Right, although that's
other
another
situations.
difference between River Forest's policy and this. River Forest is very explicit. There are 3 cases where you can get this. One is new construction, the second is you have a closing on a existing house, or a third is a renovation. It's nothing about a lease, so.
Yeah, I see, and I would be inclined to say that I don't know if that fits our district. I don't know
I'm
if
not
that-
saying it does,
yeah.
I'm just saying that it's not a.
I'd be more comfortable with 30 days than 90 days seems like a lot,
Yeah.
really a lot of money for a family to put down. But maybe it should match the period with what they're asking for, which is 30 days.
Well, to be honest, my thought on even 30 days is going to be a significant amount of money, particularly when you're talking about, as was mentioned, potentially a closing situation where a lot of times you're counting up the dimes in the in the couch to get to closing. And that was, I was in favor of more leniency just to make it more applicable, more available to more people. That I was fearful that any kind of deposit demands, while I definitely understand the ask, and I can understand why the district would want to have that, protect itself in such a way. But I felt that if we're trying to be welcoming here with this policy, that it's not as welcoming to ask for that deposit. And there would be certain situations that I could conceive of where someone might want to take advantage of this policy and just wouldn't financially be able to.
I do, I like the deposit in that it protects the district, right? But I think Linda makes a good point, that if those finances are a barrier or an obstacle, for a given family, that sort of becomes a non-starter. And they may just think, okay, let's keep our kid in that other district for 30 days, and then we'll bring them back.
Right.
And aren't we somehow missing the point of the policy at that point?
So in RB's policy, it says it's not like a 90-day period of tuition, it's just the plan of like, so if I'm gonna move in 8 days after school starts, I would have to give you a check for those 8 days.
Right,
So
now,
up
RB's
to-
is different than.
Yeah, so up to
GM.
30, which
Right, I'm not
which
arguing,
is
I'm not
a
arguing
little
for a
bit.
particular money or a particular amount, I'm just wondering if, like RB or like some of these other districts, it makes sense to ask for some deposit. I'm not wedded to that, because I understand what all of you are saying about that. I'm not wedded to that, but it does provide some measure of protection.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, I do, but
Yeah.
I think I was reacting to the 90 days or the whatever, like that, the way RB's policy is written, I'm a little more comfortable with. I still don't feel that it's absolutely necessary, but.
In general, I like the idea, but specifically, I don't, because it treats the renter as a lower class citizen. I mean, and the River Forest has rental properties too, which is why it's kind of interesting that they seem to be only, in their policy, it's totally a homeowner policy.
Right.
It really does, it's not the whole community. And I think if we're gonna do this, then we have to address the entire community. And in general, or in specifics, then the ability to back charge tuition is our protection. But asking for that deposit up front, if you're economically disadvantaged or you're in a bad spot and you need to move, then I don't think we should be holding that against you.
Okay. And then the other thing I was thinking that the other thing that it's not the policy, but maybe just as a procedure is, I think it'd be good, if we make this change, then we're kind of changing the policy to monitor what happens. And so maybe we can get, in board book, we can get report like, okay, we had 3 cases this year, here are the cases, these are the decisions, this is how they played out, so that we can see if this is, somehow being abused.
No, I would.
Yeah.
Is that-
That's a good point.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
That way, I would like
Sure.
to be able to measure the actual impact of the policy, absolutely.
Right.
But I think at this point, we wouldn't get that data until next year.
Right, yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm saying that we could, start collecting that data and put it in board books, so the board members can sort of, say, oh, why did we get 5 cases this year, or whatever. How was it handled, or did it work out the way we expected it to, and that sort of thing.
So maybe some kind of reporting expectation written into the policy, would that be?
Well, I wouldn't say that's
No.
necessarily.
I think a good procedure.
I think I
more
can
of
just
a-
speak to our registrar and something we could,
Get
because
reports
it'll
and
be a
just
new.
track it.
in August of next year, you can give us a report and say, we have these cases, here's what happened, here's my decision, and then you can
And-
sort of follow through and see what happened over the next several months if the.
Does this policy only mean for the start of the school year, or could it be
No.
any time?
I
So
mean, people move in February.
Yeah, so
People-
it could be like,
Right.
Yeah.
But it's tended to come
It
up
tends
as
to
an
happen that,
August,
because people,
September.
you're already in school.
Right.
If I'm
Right.
moving December 1, my kid's
Right.
already in school, so generally,
Right.
you would,
Right.
there's gonna be a change no matter what. I think the idea of the policy is to avoid that.
And I think sometimes if a family has started their child in a school district elsewhere, they might even, we've had
Might
ones that
even
most year
finish
might even finish the year.
the whole year there.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's gonna be such a rare occurrence to me.
But we can certainly track it. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that would be a good idea to make sure that we
Would
don't
take a lot of
think
time.
it's-
Right, I think that'd be useful. And then the last comment I had was, it seemed like a number of districts have a clause in there. I'm guessing it's a press clause, because it's very standard, which basically says, if you have a foreign exchange student or something like that, it's tuition free. And many districts have that. We don't have that for some reason. And it seems like we're gonna make this change, that seemed like a no-brainer. We should do something like that. If a student comes from France or whatever,
Have we had the requests as a district?
I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of.
It's usually a high school.
Usually high
entity.
school.
It tends to be more of a high school
Yeah.
phenomenon, that's what I was gonna say too.
Not normally
But I
the
did
junior
see
high
that in
has
some
come
other
over for a long
policies.
period
Yeah,
of time.
yeah, so a number of policies actually
I
have
would
that.
hope we would
Maybe it's
support that, even if it, I agree,
Right.
if we want to add it, but I would hope we would support that, even if it's not in the policy.
Right. All right, any other comments on this? I don't think this is not an action item, obviously, so.
Right. So we're not gonna seek a revision around a payment then, or a deposit?
It sounds like there's a consensus not to.
Well, this isn't an action item, right?
Right,
Right.
it's just that I would bring a different
I see.
revision forward next month if.
But I agree with the reporting. I think it'd be nice to see
Yeah.
whether it's used
Yeah.
or not and if it's relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, then, the last item is probably not even it should have been maybe part of the superintendent report, because it's sort of a minor thing, but it has to do with Martha's professional development in Springfield. I don't know if Martha, you wanted to.
Sure, and yeah, after Jeff and I talked about it, we realized that probably doesn't need all the attention here, but.
Let's give it
But it's
attention.
a Superintendent's Leadership Academy that lasts really 1.5 school years. It involves from Friday, Saturday workshops, something I am interested in applying for, and it does require board president to approve it. So I've been impressed with the Illinois Superintendent's Association and the professional development opportunities offered so far, and would like to do this with a cohort of superintendents.
Great.
And again, it's not an action item,
Right.
just information.
May I ask a question? Do you know anybody that's gone through it?
I do. Actually, the West Cook County area has been pretty well represented, so people I certainly respect and have been very collegial with the field, so yeah.
Do you have any idea what kind of feedback they're giving you for the areas of growth? I mean, is there anything you can share with respect to that?
One of the things is you get some coaching, so I think it also really speaks to kind of some of the unique issues that would go on in a particular district. So I think one of the things I've learned already about the superintendency is that I think the job can be really different depending on the different districts that you're in. So I think really problem solving around the unique issues, it's really nice to have a cohort group and also a sort of a coaching model for that. I do know that there's a big focus on also just balance, and that superintendents have really been encouraged to sort of make sure they find time for family and life outside of work also. So I think they often do meditation, so I think it's, those are some of the comments that I've heard, that it's a little bit of everything, so.
I'm not saying your job is stressful, are you?
I was gonna say, I think we need to give her a hug.
So you're doing a leadership group to figure out how to work less.
How to balance it, how to balance.
Am I the only one hearing this?
Work smarter, right?
Yeah, there you go.
I do have one question. Would it come along with state financial literacy and that kind of thing? It gets to get into specifics like that? Or?
It speaks a lot about, so if you read the description, the moral purpose of education.
Yeah,
the
I was trying to understand the
continuous improvement,
descriptors,
and
yeah.
being a change agent, and
Right.
but I think it really covers the breadth of the position.
Okay. It's hard from the brochure. It's a lot of verbiage, but it's
Yeah.
hard to know what the nitty gritty is. Yeah.
Because I think the nitty gritty then does become different in different districts, but I again,
Well,
knowing the
unless
people that
it's
have
a
gone
state
through it,
issue,
it's people I would really respect and.
I think having a cohort group is valuable in and of itself,
Yeah.
so I support it.
All right, any other comments on this?
I'll be watching your hours.
That's right.
She leaves at 2:00 now.
Going to meditate.
Margie's all alone in the office.
Margie can report to you. The lights will be dim and I'll be.
No further comments, and is there any
We'll
public
just have
comment?
the kindergartners report. Who's not?
If there's no further public comment, future meeting dates are October 3rd, 2018, committee of the whole here at Hauser, October 17th, regular business meeting at Hauser at 7 o'clock, November 7th, committee of the whole at 7 p.m. at Hollywood, and November 21st, the regular business meeting is canceled. So at this point, we're going to go back into closed session, but there won't be any action item taken after closed session. So at this point, is there a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel of the district to determine its validity, and for the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the district, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, and finally, for collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more class of employees.
So moved.
Second. Marjorie, please call roll.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Kleiber?
Aye.
Mr. Marhol?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Margie. Closed session.